The Weed by Amrita Pritam. Amrita Pritam is one of the most prominent Indian women writers. Though she wrote in Punjabi, most of her works have been translated into almost all Indian languages and, of course, in English. The present story, Weed, is a story of a young, beautiful village girl, but an uneducated and innocent Indian village girl, Anguri. What actually weed means? It's an unwanted plant which grows abundantly in between the cultivated crops. And no one aspires the weed to grow, and everyone aspires to deroot the weed and throw it away. Indian cultural and traditional setup is ruled by the male dominated patriarchal system. The atrocities of this male dominated society has shown many weeds like practices in the name of culture and tradition. One such weed that Amrita Pritam, who is also the narrator of the story, addresses is the denial of education to Indian women and the denial of the liberty to choose the life partner with whom they are going to live the rest of their life. It's this male dominated society which looks at the love affairs of Indian girls choosing their life partners on their own accord as a weak. On the other hand, the progressive set of people look at the denial of education and liberty of choosing the life partner in the name of Indian culture itself as a weed like practice. In the story, Anguri, a charming village girl, is married to a much older man, a widower and a bonded laborer called Prabhati. If young Anguri had a duff like physique, Prabhati is old and loose jawed. Marriage of Anguri and Prabhati is fixed on the occasion of a funeral of Prabhati's earlier wife in the graveyard. Anguri's father had come to attend the funeral, looking at the grief and sorrow of Prabhati, assures Prabhati, and offers to marry Anguri to Prabhati to wipe off his tears. At this juncture, Anguri was still of tender age because of her tender age and because of her mother's illness. Anguri was not sent to live with Prabhati for 6 long years. Only after 6 years, Anguri was sent to Prabhati to have a union. Apart from this, even Prabhati had a problem as he was a bonded labor. He had to take the permission of his landlord to bring home his wife. Here, Amrita Pritam very sensibly informs us about one more Indian weed, that's bonded labor, who don't even have the liberty of leading their own family life. Prabhati happens to be our narrators, that's Amrita Pritam's neighbors, neighbors servant who lived and resided in the same locality. Anguri comes to stay as a new wife to avoid Prabhati. Anguri had arrived fully loaded with silver jewelry, every part of her body having a unique ornament. She even had the habit of covering her face with parda. Anguri, as our narrator tells us, was true to her name, a dark, shining grape. If she had the splendor of human geometry, her husband, who was short and loose jawed, appeared like the death of geometry. It was a total mismatch, both in physical appearance and physical strength, even. Our narrator had the habit of reading while sitting under the neem trees located in front of Anguri's house beside the well. Initially, narrator observes that Anguri had a lot of concern for her parda and the silver jewelry that she wore. But gradually, it's observed even that diminishes. Narrator looks at Anguri in contrast with the unused water of the well, which was just in front of Anguri's house. Anguri, who looked like a dark grape, even had the baker's duff-like flexible body. Prabhati, as our narrator tells, appeared like a mere napkin, better to wipe the grape or cleanse the leftover of the duff. When the actual conversation of our narrator with Anguri begins, Anguri, on observing our narrator reading books, inquires about that, tells that she doesn't know either to read or write. When the narrator asks the reason, Anguri has already answered that education is forbidden for village girls, and to violate it is a sin. According to the superstitious weed sown in her mind, all men and only urban women had the right to education. When the conversation turns towards the concept like marriage, Anguri reveals that in her village, no girl ever could see her husband's face before she flows into his house after marriage. Every father places some money and flowers on the feet of a man when the girl is around 6 years. This is how the marriages are affixed in Anguri's village. And when asked by the narrator that whether this is true with all the girls, Anguri very hesitatingly reveals the truth that only few girls dare to love their men of choice, and they elope with their men of choice and get married and go against the will of their parents. And this all happens according to Anguri, according to the superstition that Anguri bore in her mind, the superstition that is sown in very deliberately by this male dominated society, very artistically sown in and made to believe. And Anguri speaks of that only those who have consumed the evil weed, they fall in love with the men of their choice and they elope with the men of their choice and they lead their life. In addition to that, one more interesting thing that Anguri reveals is that These girls who fall in love, who maintain a love affair with the men of their choice, even keep singing a very strange song. People like Anguri are made to believe that love affairs and courage to choose the life partner is the result of eating a evil weed brought from far off place. Amrita Pritam sensibly tells that for patriarchal values and standards, sane love affairs and girls grabbing the opportunity to choose their life partners is a sin. And that sin happens with girls eating the evil weed. Anguri moves forward to tell the narrator that the girls who eat the weed not only fall in love with the men of their choice, but also keep singing crazy songs in a strange way. After a few days, one morning, narrator notices Anguri sitting under the neem tree beside the well, which was just located in front of her house, in a strange silence, against her usual spirited, cheerful behavior, for which Anguri was known for. When this act of Anguri prolongs till evening of that uh, day, narrator walks to Anguri and inquires whether if there's wrong, anything wrong around her. But surprisingly, narrator finds Anguri requesting her to teach her the letters, teach her how to read and write. Now, the narrator is taken back. She senses, in a way, the weed, the impact of the weed, which Anguri was referring to earlier. earlier. And even in addition to that, the narrator has observed Anguri singing some strange song in her silence. Narrator asks if Anguri had cooked her food for that day. As a practice, Prabhati ate at his landlord. And as a routine, Anguri cooked her own food back home. But Anguri doesn't answer to this question. And when the narrator insists upon to tell whether at least she had had her tea that morning, immediately Anguri replies, no, no milk. Why no milk? Ramtara did not get the milk. Who is this Ramtara? Ramtara is a night watchman of that locality, a good looking, quick limbed man with a true wit, who guarded that area in the night and rested under the neem trees beside the well that was very much located in front of Anguri's house. Before the arrival of Anguri to Prabhati's house, this Ramtara used to have history at our narrator's household regularly. Only after the arrival of Anguri, Ramtara had given up that habit and made it a habit of having his tea in the morning after he retires from his job uh, every morning, early in the morning, just to fetch some milk for Anguri and Prabhuti, with which Anguri used to prepare tea. And all the three, Anguri, Prabhuti, and Ramtara, used to have the tea together every morning. And now, since the last 3 days, Ram Tara has gone to his village on his personal work. And Anguri could not put up with the absence of Ram Tara for all these 3 days. And that was the visible cause for Anguri having not cooked her food and not even had her tea for the past 3 days. Immediately, narrator asks her, had you had a weed? Has Ram Tara fed you a weed? Have you taken a pan from him? Have you taken a sweet from him? Anguri starts weeping and her tears start flowing. There where the story ends. This is the evil consequence of the evil practice that is dictated by the male dominated society, which tries to sow the illusionary, superstitious weed to deny woman the right to education and the liberty to love and decide their life path. This is Dr. T.H. Basavaraj, Government First College, Hospital.